people be activists, but however small the way you find, contribute to your area so that people understand at a guttural level, building power to affect things in America takes a long time if you do it right. It's meant to take a long time. So that you have to get broad agreement from people in order to do it. Right? So maybe we disagree on whether they deserve it or not, but I'm firmly aligned in this. If you're the last check and you don't pay attention for whatever reason, and the result is that bad things happen, then that's the result, no matter what you intended. And I think that's a sad place to be. That like I don't know a way out of that.
If 100% of the people had voted in the last election, we still would have been stuck with either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris.
I'm not saying we wouldn't. I'm saying the ability to get to a multi-party system is going to take more than 10 years and more than base political participation. It's going to take an ingrained effort for generations with lots of money and lots of people. And while the money part is a little bit hard, it was meant to take a long time and it was meant to take a lot of people. Maybe we don't value that anymore, and maybe we shouldn't. But that intent of taking so long to build power to use it was so that there was a large argument between people so they can come to some form of agreement locally, then statewide, and then nationally. Right? Maybe I'm being too idealistic. My studies of ancient history tell me when the citizens...
He's an ancient historian.
For whatever reason, the trajectory of a republic or a democracy always declines, no matter what the intent of those people actually is.
Well, I'll just tell you what, there are outside factors that are trying to erode our republic even further than it has been eroded by our own neglect, to use your argument, and that is the job of the DNI and the folks who work for him to ensure that that doesn't occur. So that brings us full circle to today's discourse about Mr. Pulte and his qualifications and whether he's going to use that position to get rid of folks that do not appear to be as loyal to the President of the United States as they should be, notwithstanding what level of expertise they may or may not have in those all-important positions. Scott, followed by Les.
Gary, good to see everybody. Am I coming through okay?
Yes, sir. You sound like a professional podcaster.
All right, here we come, live at drive time. Yeah, so it's interesting, I mean, this isn't the topic for the day, but playing off of what you and Marshall were just talking about, in the period after the Constitution's ratification, we had conventions of state delegates, which, they represented their state's interest in the Electoral College. And the Electoral College met, and the top two vote getters in the Electoral College became president and vice president, right? Which is interesting because they were often, or in this instance, they could be opposed, right? I mean, you could have people that would be opposed. So, for instance, with Jefferson and Adams, right? Jefferson, becomes Adams' vice president, even though he's his opponent ideologically. So, I mean, that system worked for like 2 elections, but after by 1804, this thing is pretty much shot, and the parties begin to pick candidates. And I don't know, Gary. I mean, I think what Marshall's saying is right. I mean, I think we're not dissatisfied enough with the system as it is to change it. I mean, if we were patently dissatisfied, I mean, it would. It's interesting because efforts made. Jesse Ventura, when he became Minnesota governor, he said, the one thing the two parties could agree on was no parties, no Jesse Ventura. And so, I mean, I think the parties do like it this way, and it's interesting how much effort it takes to get on a ballot, right? And to run for office. And so very often, I mean, how do you do that without the machinery of a party, right? We've seen our friend Mr. Kitover, who was trying to, get on a ballot. It's not an easy thing to do without the sort of machinations of a political party. So I mean,
here we go.
Post on Facebook that chance.
Did John Kitover post that? I didn't know that.
All you have to do is look at a slew of comments that he makes on
All
people's
day,
timelines,
baby.
including mine, which apparently, my understanding is, Facebook found too distasteful to allow to continue on its platform. So there you.
I have some faith in Facebook.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So I think with regard to that's I mean I do think that it's here to stay. I mean I don't know.
Wasn't me who said it. It was Gary Baumgarten who said
system.
it.
And I'm trying to think of a system in the West. I mean, even parliamentary systems, right? They're still driven by parties, right? I mean, I think that this is just a pretty efficient way to field candidates and deal with the kind of bureaucratic machinations that it takes to drive a Western liberal democracy. I mean, I don't know the alternative way to do it. Well, I mean. Maybe you could argue, Gary, that's a failure of imagination on my part, and I would concede that. I mean, that's probably the case. But with regarding to Polta, I mean, look, Polta is on the record as an election denier, right? And this becomes the orthodoxy, right? This is now the standard of orthodoxy in the Trump administration. If you have been an election denier, then you are somebody that can be in the inner circle. That is the standard. That is the dogma. That is the doctrine that, where people who are successful or not successful in the Trump administration rise and fall. So, I mean, this is, in short, yes, I mean, is cuts going to be political? Probably. I mean, I assume that, I don't think this guy, it's very interesting, by the way, when you look at some of the Republicans, even, lots of Republicans have said, Thune, the majority leader, said we don't need a weaponized DNI, we need professionals there. John Cornyn of Texas said he sees no evidence of any qualifications for the job. Senator Bill Cassidy, well, again, Cassidy and Cornyn are on the outs with Trump, but the best I can tell you, he's not qualified, but I don't know anything about him other than that. It's interesting because Trump makes him acting director, so he's got 210 days for a confirmation hearing. This is, I mean, the whole acting thing, right? I mean, Trump often kind of abuses this system, I think, where the acting thing is supposed to be if Congress is in recess or something. A position needs to be filled immediately. That's what acting appointments are for, not so that you can, showcase somebody for 7 months, so somebody can basically do the job for 7 months before you replace them with another acting or something like that. So that's the way that it's not illegal. I mean, it's not, but this gets to what Marshall gets, Marshall quoted my friend Ed Watts from Mortal Republic, and, Ed says the Roman Republic didn't die because people broke laws, it died because they broke norms. It's just norm break. So it's just this thing what Trump is doing is not illegal, but it's just basically taking the norm and taking something that's there for the convenience of the executive, so that we don't have positions, not filled on recesses, and then making it functionally a way to circumvent the Congress, which is lamentable. But I think if you don't think this guy's going to make partisan decisions, that's I've got a bridge to sell you a proposal.
I feel the very same way, Scott. I don't see. I'm my most optimistic side. I don't have when it comes to this particular subject. Would like to believe that he, loves America enough to be, nonpartisan. But I don't think he does. I think he loves the idea of being a Trump guy. That's a complete emotional supposition on my part, but given his history, I don't think you can expect much more.
And
Well,
this
it's
becomes
not complete emotional supposition on your part. It's based on facts before us and history.
Yeah,
I may not be fair, but I think you are incorporating that obviously into your assessment. Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, and we're seeing that there's a trajectory here, right? And we go back to 2020, where we've talked about this before. I think what was different than Trump than a lot of people like the Bushes or the Obamas or Biden or people like this is that usually when people rise to political office at the level of national office, like the presidency. They've got a cadre of folks that have been with them and can help them staff things and can implement their ideological agenda. Trump didn't have that, right? And so there were a lot of people in his cabinet that weren't MAGA people, right? That weren't sold out. I mean, the irony of ironies, he said, we're going to drain the swamp. He's Reince Priebus as chief of staff. This is just, I mean, you couldn't write something funnier than that. But I think the second time around in Trump too, he's like, this is not going to happen to me. I'm getting loyalists. I'll put Hegseth. I'll put Kennedy and HAC because he's loyal, even though I'll let him implement his agenda because he's loyal. And so the trajectory is just going further that way, right? And again, now that I think the orthodoxy is the election denial, right? So it's just going, this is going in a trajectory, right? I mean, I think you'd have to.
Scott, when this happened in the 1870s, it was the orthodoxy for 35 years. Like, if history tells us anything, it says we have at least 35 years of this to look forward to, if history is any indicator for it. Granted, 2020 and 1876 are entirely different reasons for electing people, but it stuck with the Tilden side for 35 years. It was considered orthodoxy in the party until the mid-aughts, like 1904, 1905 kind of thing. At least from what I remember. But like, the virus isn't going to get out of itself quickly. Like, the example we have doesn't show that. The example we have shows it sticks around for 3.5 decades, which is disturbing.
If you allow me another one of my crazy analogies, imagine that you are sick with a life-threatening illness and you want to find the best physician to increase your chances of survival. What qualifications do you look for? Do you say, well, I'm only going to go to this physician because he supports the person I support for president? Or I'm going to go to this physician because he supports my favorite sports team, but if he supports my greatest rival, I won't go to him or her because they support the wrong team? No, of course not. We're going to go and find the physician that can best, as I said, increase our chances of survivability. So this kind of a litmus test is maybe something that
usually when people rise to political office,
the president, and so it may be good for him. But how is it good for the nation? And I don't think in any respect it is. I often say here, if you disagree with what I say, I want to hear from you.
Yeah, sure you do, Gary.
Because I do. I want to hear different points of view. I don't want to hear people who just come to the stage and say, Gary, you're right, Gary, you're right, Gary, you're right, Gary, you're right. That would be awful boring. So, Scott, you're on very thin ice right now because you haven't disagreed with me in a long time.
Well, yeah. I mean, the great minds think alike, right? I mean, or dumb ones. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, again, I'd be interested to see if we get anybody that would defend Polta's. What would make this guy a standout person? I mean, it's interesting because I guess you could maybe make the argument with someone like Kennedy that even though he has no experience per se in health and human services, he is a sort of activist around health and against certain sorts of synthetic things.
You should be saying that when Les is the next one up because you're riling him up now.
I'm not making the argument. I don't think Kennedy was. I would have voted against Kennedy. I would have voted against. And I'm somebody that thinks in general presidents should get who they want if they're qualified. Even if I don't think senators should deny. I don't think in general confirmation should be like 52-48. They should be 90-10, right? But that requires the executive to appoint people that are qualified. Now again, if I'm a senator from the opposing party, qualified does not mean I could be completely ideologically opposed to the person and not be able to deny that their resume is requisite to the position. I just think that the problem is with Trump. I mean, he's put numerous people up that I would have, if I was in the Senate, voted against them. Again, not for ideological reasons, because I just don't think you could find somebody that even though I might find them ideologically distasteful, they're up to the job.
Nobody's competent. Nobody's competent.
Scott, if you make the person,
You're too ideological and we don't agree with your ideology. You are not getting the job, sir.
I mean, and that's,
You don't believe in vaccines?
or
Hey, Pfizer, we got another one.
Use of the system, right? I mean, that is a way for the president to trample on the authority of the legislature, right? It's just not it's a dreadful move. And again, I think, but this is part of the Steve Bannon said the rapid fire approach, right? There's just so much of this, pardon my French, but so much of this bullshit that it gets tough to follow it all, right? It gets tough to, I mean.
It's like forget about fire hose. How you keep all that stuff?
How you gonna suck up there?
Right?
Yeah.
So not 3 different areas to research in everyday life if you pay super close attention. There are a dozen issues to research in everyday life. And if you spend the right amount of research on every item, you're going to be busy most of your day. And most people don't have that. Not to mention they don't have access to the databases that will provide them the scholarly information to begin with.
thank you, gentlemen. We're going to now move on to more callers, and we'll start with Les, followed by Stupid.
Well, someone was mentioning this obstetrician, or I should say, the idea that Michelle Obama is not a woman. I guess they should explain her 2 children and prove that her obstetricians were lying. It's such a stupidity. And in terms of election denial, it's been 6 years since the election, and it's nothing. So after a while, you stop. It's just I hate to use this word, stupidity, right? In terms of what's happening, we need to have strong NSA, etc. That part of intelligence. My last job, I worked for a major bank, and we had cyber attacks regularly from Russia and Iraq. I should say Iraq? No, Iran. I'm sorry, Iran. So it's a serious problem, and we're also, one way of attacking it is having good AI, and yet the government is on a warpath with Anthropic and their Claude, and they just banned the latest Claude release. And so they're making, and we're in a big race with China now. And if China has better AI than we do, or if we cripple our leader in AI, then we're screwed. And, the way it was done was obvious that they wanted the head of the, they gave them 90 minutes to take it, to remove the product, stop allowing the product. And they were upset because the CEO would instantly come and wasn't available. So part of it was just having someone bend the knee to Mr. Trump. And this is the same company that Pete Hegseth got mad at because they said they wouldn't at this point civilians of the United States to snoop in Gary's business and Marshall's business. Again, guess what? China is not going to be restricted what they're doing with their AIs. And even though that Claude has no bigger problem with cybersecurity than any of their competitors got taken off the market, they're just it's a foolish thing that cripples America's ability to compete in AI. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. We'll go to old Raj, followed by Daryl.
Interesting topic, Gary and Marshall. I'm more would like to look at it from the angle of where did this guy come from? I know he's a Nepo baby, and he's from Texas. I know of his dad's company. If you're from Texas, you're very familiar with Pulte Homes.
In Michigan as well, very familiar.
But I guess at 38 years old, he had to be a suck buddy with Trump Jr. Because I don't know how a kid gets in, get access to Trump like that, unless Nepo baby's daddy's contributing so much money, he gets carte blanche to see the president. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me how he got there. My other question is, how long does he get to stay there without being confirmed? Is it 150 days?
210.
Thank you. So, I mean, is it going to be political? Yes. I'm sure it is. And if you don't get up and, salute the swastika, then you're not in. And so if you want to be election denier, that's fine. You won't be part of this. Well, you will be part of it if you're election denier. And I it makes no sense to me. But I just, it had been brought up in the room, I think by Scott, that, it should be a 90-10 acceptance. But he keeps bringing up such feckless nominees. This guy there's no way this guy would make it, even with a Republican-held Senate. So,
I know from talking to my little brother, the ones on the way out don't support him, and the moderate ones in the party don't support him, and won't vote for him. Now, they expect leadership to give them cover to not vote for them. Right? They expect food to provide some sort of cover so they can decline, like getting him as a secretary. But
How did
they're not for it either.
How did he get access to Trump to begin with? The guy's only 38 years old.
Well, the real question here is, if we're putting all these suppositions aside, is the Office of the Director of National Intelligence bloated? Is there a legitimate reason to suggest that this arbitrary number of 300 people should be, that they want to be slashed? Is there any justification for that? If so, where is it bloated? Where are these people not being successful in protecting the homeland? These are all things that I would really like to know going in. It seems to me to be it's hard to understand how a person who has not even taken the office yet can declare that we have to slash 300 jobs.
It's a black box, Gary. You're never going to know.
Where did that number come from? Where did that number come from?
We just declare stuff as true.
Where did the number 300 come from? I'm wondering, to get back to the original question at hand about all of this, Raj, I'm wondering, was he handed a hit list of people before he was named the acting DNI? And he already knows who those 300 people are even before he sits down behind the desk for the first time, because it's been decreed on his behalf who needs to go because they don't pass some sort of loyalty test. We know from interviews with former FBI agents that they were asked when Kash Patel became director of the FBI who they voted for. And those agents who refused to answer, it was presumed were not going to be loyal to the president, and they lost their jobs. Well, hey, I don't want to know who an FBI agent voted for. It's irrelevant.
As long as they don't drag it into their work, I don't care.
Right. The FBI agent is supposed to be doing his or her job, absent political considerations. That one hit close to home because I never have told anybody who I voted for in my life. Because that's just my personal standard. I don't discuss who I vote for. I believe in the sanctity of the voting booth. You can suppose all you want that you know, I know who Gary really voted for, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But even when I was married, I never discussed with my wife who I voted for. And I didn't ask her who she voted for. Should that be a litmus test of our love? No. So it's not as if there is not precedent in this administration for people to come into an office and use as a litmus test a person's political loyalty on whether or not they should hold a job. And so that's why I think the alarmists on the Democratic side of the aisle, who are the ones who are basically beating this drum, are not off. Their motivation for beating the drum may be partisan. I recognize that, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong. Unless somebody again can come to the stage and tell me why they're wrong.
I don't think they're wrong on this, but it does occur to me that part of this is the way the party and its stalwarts and its public-facing people have attacked Trump in extremes. And I don't mean
does that even matter anymore?
They don't have points. There are times when they're getting after him which are very hyperbolic and petty, which I think has the opposite reaction on the other side. It makes people look at that pettiness and not take the other side seriously.
Have you heard?
In the same way that the left-hand side of the aisle doesn't take Trump's or the Republicans' considerations seriously when it comes to cabinet picks, because he's picked so many bad ones. There seems to be a mutual level of distrust there.
I can give you an answer who I think is the list of the 300. Gary, it's very simple.
Rand?
That person's name is Stephen Miller, the devil.
Hello?
I don't know if he's the devil, but I think he's Lord Voldemort for sure. Unless you qualify, the junior senator from Florida.
Still looking for fraud? Does the debt even matter? 40 trillion and 1 trillion a year in interest. Haven't you
I would not be
heard?
surprised if Stephen Miller would be the ultimate architect of this kind of strategy. Thank you, Oraj. Thank you, Marshall. By the way, of course, the same goes for, I don't want to get into whataboutism, but the president, he's been, shall we say, hyperbolic in his criticism of the Democrats as well, or anybody else with whom he disagrees. So, and I think that's putting it kindly.
Thank you, Gary. Gary, are you open to a contrary point of view?
Yes, when I get to you.
Okay.
Zero followed by Brent.
Hey, yeah, so I wanted to really echo what both Marshall and Scott were saying about the current state of our politics. And this is something people are talking about. Did people vote for Trump, or did people who voted for him vote against what they thought was a system? There were a lot of polls last year, 25, Brookings, Pew, research for government. And one of the questions they were asking is, how do you trust your government? Now, the results kind of went here and there, but some of them were as high as 72% of Americans said they didn't trust the government to do the right thing. And so when you have this type of climate, the door is open for someone like him to come in and say, I'm on your side. I'm going to expose everything. I'm going to do what no one else has been willing to do. And you can hear it in his rhetoric. Even just now, even though it seems to be a debacle, the Iran thing. Before just talking about the situation, he says things like, no other president had the courage to do this. He's always, quick to talk about what no one or no other president who he is signaling to his audience as part of that system would do. And a lot of what he does is signaling. His manner of speaking, it's NATO has been ripping us off. So if the average American feels like they're not making more money or their take-home pay is not what it should be, they might actually think that their money is going to support NATO. Now, it doesn't really work that way. But when you get into the politics of grievances, it doesn't really matter if something is factually true or not. It's only a matter of how the average American
How it resonates, right? How it resonates.
Yeah. Who might actually go out and vote, because like to Scott's point, look at how many people don't vote. We've talked about this before here in New York City. Until Montgomery, the mayoral race for what is considered one of the most powerful countries in the world because of Wall Street, you'll literally have young people 4 blocks at a bar, 4 blocks away from a polling station, and the mantra is, I'll vote next year, or I'll vote next time. Marshall is right. We get the government that we deserve. And to the other
You don't get the government you deserve. You get the government you're lied into getting.
I can tell you, someone probably made a very large contribution to a pact. And
Is that
part of the bargaining for that contribution was that, hey, I can get you into the room if you can make this contribution to the pact. I told you, it's like here in New York, when my buddy was running for mayor, he couldn't get an interview on New York One or any station until he showed he had raised $2 million. No one would even speak to him. The way to fix this system is to get money out of politics. But there's too much money in politics to get money out of politics. So we've become a dog that's chasing its own tail in a system that we all know is somewhat corrupt, but it's the only system we have. And I don't know what the fix is, but I do know that let me rephrase this. I do believe that the people who voted for him weren't necessarily voting for him as much as they believed they were voting against something else.
I think that's really wise. He gave them something to oppose. He resonated with their feeling of emotional grievance, whether it was economic or over immigration or over the way states treat each other. He hit that aggrieved feeling kind of right on the head.
The way to galvanize a populace is by giving them an enemy to attack. And that's exactly what he did. He gave them a boogeyman. They know he's part of that same system, but he's their boogeyman. Or at least
that part about that is, it makes a mockery of the things that actually matter. right? It uses as political cudgels things that are really important to different parts of the country, right? Like immigration and the number of people we received from the Biden administration and the amount of money the county had to spend was a real deal. It was a real problem, right?
Yeah.
Not we don't want to be like kind to everybody, but like if you're taking, which we were, money out of our indigent fund, and that left Rio Grande Valley residents who were, the least among us in a real bad way. And it just like it didn't cater, but it got used as a political cudgel in a way that didn't recognize any of those kinds of different qualities or different pieces.
Lincoln Park. When you get up here, you walk past houses that all have like the hands off Chicago signs. And walking in Lincoln Park, you're seeing a resist hands off Chicago, which is one of the whitest neighborhoods in Chicago. They're literally basically no people of color here. Immigrants, black, whatever. Pretty much all white.
Else to lose. Again, go back to the to the haves and the have-nots. We are creating a system where those who feel they have nothing else to lose, a guy like him is, okay, well, I've got nothing else to lose, so I might as well vote for this guy. He's never going to do what they want him to do. He wouldn't look at them if he asked them on Madison Avenue. But again, it's that, what do I have to lose psychology that has gotten us to where we are right now.
By the way, I don't think that necessarily votes with all voters. I look at Youngstown, Ohio as example. People came out and voted for him in droves in Youngstown when the GM plant closed, because he pledged that he was going to ensure that be repurposed and everybody would get their jobs back. And they believed it. Now, it may be because they wanted to believe it, but they did believe it. And ultimately, he left them disappointed, but that didn't matter. He got their votes. And if you recall, in that election, Ohio was a swing state. So, great job. But, I mean, that's not unusual for politicians to make promises in order to get votes and then walk away from those promises once they get into office, because, of course, when you're running for office, your only job is not to try to get in a position and do what you promised to do. Your number one goal is to get elected. And after you get elected, well, then you reassess.
Yeah, but Gary, the only thing I would say to that is it's different when you're saying, okay, we're going to give some of the livery medallions in New York City to Uber and Lyft, right? And saying, okay, we're going to bring jobs back to your community. So I think for many people, it's like, okay, well, he says he's going to do it, because it's always a he when we're talking about presidents. So maybe it could have been a she. So it's like, okay, what do I have to lose, in a sense? Because I can either believe him or not believe him, but for many of them, their personal situations have not changed, is the point I was trying to make.
If our personal situations change, it's rarely for the better these days. And relying on our politicians to make our lives more meaningful, I'm not so sure that's something that we ought to see as a priority. Thank you, Daryl. We'll go to Brent, followed by Pluto.
I think we need to step back and ask why ONI was created in the first place. This was a
Don't ask anything like that.
in which we said, hey, we actually had all the intelligence pieces to stop 9/11. What we didn't have was an integration piece where we could put together what the CIA said, what the NSA said, and what these various intelligence agencies said, and put it together in a coherent piece that would be actionable. This is a kind of a swing at kind of taking out what was one of the critical reforms after September 11th. And, you know, we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's been criticism of ONI in the past, but when you politicize and when you degrade the intelligence apparatus, what you're doing is you're taking out your own decision making. You're taking out the ability to hear those tough truths when you don't want to hear it, and just to kind of do what you assume, you know, your basic assumptions without any intel to back it up. You know, there's been a lot of reporting that the administration going into this conflict with Iranians, you know, made a lot of assumptions about how fast that the Iranian regime would collapse once they started air strikes that the intelligence apparatus thought were false. They acted on those false assumptions anyway because those people weren't in the room. There's been a lot of more reporting that says, hey, you can sign this peace deal or this MOU, but you're not going to be able to control the Israelis. The Israelis are going to still strike in Lebanon. They signed it anyway. So you can do decision making without these organizations, and you can politicize these organizations, but don't think that's going to make your decision making for the American people better. The other point I'd make as far as weaponization of it is, sure, they're going to try to weaponize it. I don't think there's any question in that. But the good part of this is they're so incompetent that I don't know if that part of this will matter. You know, Pulte tried to weaponize mortgages. He's fallen flat, you know, at all those attempts, and they've been laughed out of court. So I don't know if the weaponization will matter because they're too incompetent to actually do it effectively. But I do think they'll be able to degrade our decision.
Thank you, Daryl. We'll go to Brent, followed by Pluto.
I think you just
Or no, other way around. You mean you're going to either William or Pluto because Brent's already talked, and so is Daryl.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going by how it appears on the screen, and that's my mistake for not removing folks after they have spoken. You are absolutely right. Thank you for keeping me on track, Marshall. Pluto, followed by William. Pluto, you know I've been begging somebody to come up and offer a contradictory position. You don't have to ask me, do I want one? You know I want one, so I am all ears.
So first of all, I read your latest Substack, and I agree with you completely that social media is creating peculiar people. And I'd like to say something that a view that has never been expressed on your stage before, and I brought a bunch of receipts. The people on your stage have never once talked about the origin of Stephen Miller. What is the case that brought Stephen Miller to national attention? And this is actually very, very relevant to the topic of firing a lot of people in the, let's just say, in the intelligence services. So part of Trump's platform, both times he ran, was that progressives in the government sometimes deliberately frame innocent Republicans. That was part of his platform. And Stephen Miller's experience goes directly to that because exactly 20 years today, I'm sure you remember it, Gary, because you're a fair guy, and there was a case at Duke called the Duke lacrosse case. And Stephen Miller said the Democratic Party is framing innocent young white boys for Democratic reasons. And Stephen Miller was literally the only person on the national stage who implicated the Democratic Party in trying to put in prison innocent white lacrosse players. And
let me just.
Why is that a political issue and not like a local matter in which?
Right, I just want.
I'm about to land my plane, Marshall.
No, you don't have to land your plane. I want to have a discourse with you on this. Because I recall this case vividly, and I reported on that case as well. I wasn't there covering it, but I covered it from the perspective of a national network and how we framed it. And there was no question that these boys were framed. It wasn't known initially, but it became pretty obvious as they went on that these young men were being framed. How does this translate into being the Democratic Party wanting to frame white people to cast aspersions upon Caucasians?
Well, that was Miller's argument. If you go back and read it,
I know. But you're bringing it up, and
I know that I'm getting to land the plane. So Miller basically said that the Democratic Party, as a party, has a policy of framing innocent people, and he predicted that Nafong, the district attorney, would be disbarred. And all the newspapers were on Nafong's side. I remember the case very well. The newspapers wanted to crucify and put these lacrosse players in prison. And I think Miller compared this to the Dreyfus case in France. I know you weren't involved.
Well, wait a minute. I'm not familiar with the Dreyfus case. Of course, but wait a minute. Your recollection and my recollection is completely different. There was an evolution, of course, because, as is the case always, and unfortunately, when an individual is charged, whether correctly or incorrectly, the only one you hear from at the time of the charging is the prosecutor and the police. The prosecutor and the police say, Pluto pulled out a gun and shot Gary. Well, Pluto was nowhere near me. Who's going to give Pluto's side of the story? Well, nobody at that point, because Pluto doesn't even have an attorney yet, and Pluto is locked up in jail, and there's nobody to speak on Pluto's behalf. So, in our system, unfortunately, the prosecution carries tremendous weight when it comes to public opinion and the framing of a story. So the only one that the local media could go to for comments and the way you frame it, correctly so, is prosecutors claim. Prosecutors have charged. Police say. Nobody went on the air or in print and said, these boys did it. They said, this is what the prosecution claims. Now, as it evolved, and as voices came out on behalf of, and if I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, even some of the players themselves and others who were witnesses to what happened that day came out in defense of these players, and it turned out that the young lady's claims were all lies, so that was dutifully reported as well. I don't think that the complaints about how the news was covered are justified, because that's the best you could do under those circumstances. And secondly, I understand that Stephen Miller used this to his advantage to show how dastardly and evil the Democrats are, and to frame it as if Democrats want to show how great they are to minorities, and how they want to do it at the expense of Caucasians. But this is how the system works, and it was Miller who took advantage of it and framed it in a certain way that may not be accurate. I never got a sense throughout that entire case, which I followed extremely closely, that there was any partisan political angle to it. Had the prosecutor been a Republican, the prosecutor would have made similar comments. We hear Republican prosecutors talk all the time about how weak the Democrats are on crime. When you have a Democrat who is a DA and there's a Republican challenging that Democrat, we know that that Democrat has allowed this person to go out on parole and that person to become a recidivist, etc., etc., etc. I don't know how Stephen Miller, and why you would be parroting that now, would say anything about this being a partisan issue. As Marshall started to say, it was a local story that got blown up, and it was good that it got national attention because an injustice got corrected. But I guarantee you, if you look at the Innocence Project and others, there are a lot of innocent people who end up behind bars because the system just didn't work for them.
Under the Rick Perry administration of Texas, we executed a black man who was proven not to have been at a crime scene. That was a Republican government in a supermajority Republican state. It's a detraction every time to arrange the political views of these people. If you want to say their platform says something absurd, fine, I'll agree with you. But if you just want to blame Democrats because you don't like Democrats and you look for a reason to blame them, I'm at my worst when I'm a partisan hack. Partisan hackery doesn't get us to where we need to go.
He's a partisan hack? Ever?
So Pluto,
The question should be, what did this person do? Were they innocent?
This is Marshall Rankin, a leading Texas Republican in Hidalgo County. He hates Donald Trump.
Newspaper article.
He sucks eggplant.
Or television broadcast.
He does meth. And he wears a cheetah jacket.
That would substantiate that the only reason this was done was because liberals wanted to charge white people. I'm sorry, number one, that just seemed airy-fairy to me. But number two, this thing that white people are somehow under threat is just nonsense. But I'm a white person and I live in a 97% Hispanic area. I am not in danger for my life because I live amongst a bunch of people who don't look like me. And the idea that every time somebody says something negative about white people, we get ourselves up in arms just doesn't make much sense. If you have 25% of the country saying this, politicians that represent these 25% of the country, and they're saying it, fine. But I don't understand the application of partisan
Marshall
politics
Rankin, the Democrat lawyer.
about law and about justice. Partisan politics doesn't get you
Never
justice.
graduated college. Always talking about my little brother.
Divisiveness along
A
political
pseudo-intellectual
lines.
historian.
Each party can justify stuff that is unjust for their political furtherance. So
Brilliantly put as always, Marshall Sankin Rankin.
You've been on the mic a long time. I'm trying to answer you very briefly. Stephen Miller has a lot of influence, and he had a huge influence on the campaign, and the message that won the campaign is very, very simple. I'm getting to this firing of national intelligence. Miller's message was very simple. The progressive movement weaponizes the government against innocent people. He said Brett Kavanaugh was innocent, and the progressive movement crucified him. He said that in the Tawane Brawley case, the Republican was innocent, and an innocent person was crucified. In the Jussie Smollett case, the
Tawane Brawley case, you think that this person was prosecuted because they were Republican?
I'm trying to finish.
Wait a minute.
I'm trying to finish, Gary. What Miller made a very clear case to the American people saying, as a party, the Democratic Party deliberately frames innocent people, and that message won votes, and that's why these national intelligence people are being fired, because Miller is making the case inside the administration that they are liars who are framing innocent people. Now, you may disagree.
I'm sorry, Miller has been often dude, I'm not done, you hear me. Miller has been often wrong. His addressing of immigration, while it made him feel good and it got him emotional friends, it didn't deport anywhere near the level that President Obama deported in his first year in office.
Clip it!
Do that job.
Clip it! Oh, great work, Obama! You did great work, Obama.
You're welcome to not trust him, but the topic of this room is why these people are being fired. So I'll wear my plate and then I'll go to the audience, Marshall, okay? There is groupthink in this room. You never bring up people
Absolutely, there's groupthink in this room.
Sorry, hold on.
Oh man, they can't take a little criticism. Did they kick him? They kicked him! Oh my God, beautiful. Exposed again.
We do not
Echo chamber. Groupthink, liberal, Democrat, pluralist, communist, progressive Democrats.
She might say something.
Marshall's thinking Reagan is getting cooked. Oh, this is a great show. Gary.
It's because, or groupthink as he put it, it's because the majority of people who take the time to raise their hands may have similar opinions.
Kick him!
Not because
Kick him!
people who have opposing opinions are not being allowed up onto the stage. That's a very unfair comment to make, just as some of the other. I don't know how we tie Pulte in with Stephen Miller's view that the Democrats were responsible for the horrible, and I agree, persecution of these kids on the lacrosse team. The lady came to the police with a complaint. The police investigated the complaint. The police turned those findings over to the DA's office.
This is awesome.
The DA's office felt, correctly or incorrectly, that the police had done a fine job of investigating and they had enough to go for an indictment. The DA procured the indictment. The boys were charged. It turned out that the complainant lied. Okay? There was an injustice. Thank God it got corrected before these boys' lives were ruined. That's how the process works. Or should we say, the lady came to the police with a complaint. The police took and investigated. They presented it to the prosecutor. The prosecutor said, oh, we're not going to believe her. You can't believe women. We're not going to take this case. Why should we let these fine young men be maligned by a woman who claims that she was raped? No way are we going to take this to a jury. Would that have been less of a miscarriage of justice? And would that decision have been made based on politics? I know this system very well. I've covered it for over 50 years, the criminal justice system. It's an imperfect system. And yes, sometimes people are prosecuted for political reasons. There were complaints made by Pulte against individuals, and it's pretty darn clear in his previous position that those individuals were being prosecuted for political reasons. If a former FBI director takes a picture of some seashells, whether he put those seashells in that order or not, which cannot be ascertained, unless they went out there afterwards and got fingerprints or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they did. And he then gets prosecuted for threatening the life of the President of the United States because he took that picture. So does that mean that I, as a photographer, if I'm walking down the beach here in New Jersey and I see that somebody put something like that out on the beach and I take a picture of it, that means that I am now threatening the life of the President? No, they're not going to prosecute me for taking a picture. But I'm not a political enemy of the President. So, is there politicization of the criminal justice system? Yes, it happens. Has it happened in the past? Yes, it has. Have Democrats been... It's absurd, and he knows that it's absurd.
Absurd.
So, yeah, maybe
Absurdity!
a little bit long.
Absurdity!
But I just want to make it clear, I don't want anybody to be under the impression
That he's fair and impartial. Or a listener.
And you'll be on stage. Even if I know what you're going to say, I can read your...
Ah!
Oh my God, after saying that, I got to listen to William.
It's a dog woman! With acne! Ah!
Read my mind, please. So, somebody that's educated
Bing,
and
bong,
intelligent is
bong.
going to
Bing,
praise
bing.
Stephen
Bong,
Miller.
bong.
Yeah, that's what
Bing,
he said.
bing,
But let's
bing.
get beyond Stephen
Bong,
Miller.
bong, bong.
Yeah.
Bing,
No, but
bing.
just give me some
Bong,
people that's
bong,
educated,
bong, bong.
intelligent,
Bing,
and
bing,
also
bing.
have some
Bong,
twisted
bong, bing, bing,
background,
bing.
like
Bong,
trace small
bong.
animals
Bing,
and see
bing,
if they
bing, bing,
trace
bing, bing, bing. Bong, 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 bong,
Stephen
bong.
Miller.
Bing.
But going on to
Bing, 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 bong.
Has this guy ever passed a background check?
A background check?
Ever been screened for national security? Is he qualified to look at the most sensitive documents?
I'm a puppy girl. I'm a little dog.
Security, disclose sources, methods, and the top secret compartmentalized information. Does this guy have any role in national security? Why? Why is it that Donald J. Trump keeps getting unqualified people who don't care about...
You're stupid, girl. You're stupid. You're the one I tic-tac-toeing to me. You're stupid. Don't project your stupidity onto me. Don't you do that. That's not right. Go read a book. Go to the gym. Don't be stupid your whole life and call people stupid.
It goes beyond what you probably even intended, because when you mentioned this about the background check, I thought...
Now I know why you use the dog. Because you're stupid and you are ugly.
Which presumably
Got you.
Qualified.
Got you.
Homeland Security Secretary.
You got.
Was appointed.
You got, señorita.
The intelligence community.
You are estúpida. La mujer de estúpida. Sí. Esta una estúpida mujer.
Could not pass the muster to be able, even as in that position, to read such sensitive, classified information. So it's not like this would be the first time, if in fact this guy is not qualified, that somebody would be put in such a sensitive position absent their qualification.
Actually, I think by raising Tulsi Gabbard to that level, by some of our actions like blowing up shipwrecked sailors in the Caribbean, the United States was cut out of Five Eyes, and a lot of our...
What you need is more cover. Tú necesitas una libra. Una libra para tu boca. Then to read a book. Then to read a book. You need to read a book. Read a book. Get off your cell phone. Put it down. Read a book. Put your cell phone down.
And let her yuck it up with Putin or Bashar al-Assad or whoever else she's
Then to read a book.
So there's a lot.
Don't use TikTok anymore. Then to read a book.
Where was Trump standing on this?
You can do it.
Vladimir Putin,
Read a book. Delete
national security people
TikTok.
were saying that
You can read a book.
Putin was full of it, and Trump says, well,
This is called a book.
I poke,
You see?
Putin
In a book there are pages with information and you can read it to improve your brain. It helps your brain. It's good for your brain, señorita.
Enemies of the United States, enemies of liberal democracy, threatened by the idea that people would have liberal democratic rights in a republic or...
Señorita, necesita una libra para tu boca inteligente. Para tu inteligentes.
That there are similar border from Russia and showing that people can live successfully in a
Adiós, señorita.
rather than a dictatorship.
Bye bye.
And that's
Feliz año nuevo de junio de 12/9 para la libertad de los negros americanos.
I mean, Tulsi Gabbard as the funnel for our national security secrets seemed pretty strange to me. But again, I'm not privy to all of her background and all that documentation, but things that she said and positions that she's taken don't really demonstrate that she has liberal democracy at heart, nor do the things that Trump says or does. So I think Trump puts people that are not qualified about national security because he doesn't care. Because he doesn't care about our national security.
They only want liberal, Democrat, progressive, pluralistic installation.
Can I just say something, Gary? I think one thing you're missing, my friend, is that you do this strategically. You put these people in place that are indebted to you because they're not qualified, right? I mean, this is where someone like Chris Wray, who has even Jeff
That's smart.
Sessions, right?
It's good governance. It's a good thing to do if you're the most powerful person and you want loyal people.
When you promote these patently unqualified people
Patently.
up the chain, all their political capital is due to you. So they're much more inclined, I think, to do whatever you want.
The president's lies about her? Oh, crap.
I mean, she not only said that
there, William.
She not only said that he's lying about what she said she was pissed at his negative attitude towards all of our national security allies in NATO, or many of them, and just sucking up to dictators and dumping on people that are true allies. Or at least
Our true allies. Truly our most truest of all allies, the Italians.
It's going to be that way on Monday. It's going to be that way next week.
I can put it on hold for the weekend.
Yeah, you can have a good weekend.
Thank you, Doctor. Ahmed, I think you get the last word.
I were talking about industry and was different Trump and the another industry. That is my question.
What is the difference between Trump and what?
Trump and another dictatorship.
Oh, between Trump and another dictator?
Yep.
Well, I know there are those who feel that he's a dictator. I would not necessarily adhere to that point. I think he's a wannabe dictator. Maybe that would be fair. But I think that there are still checks and balances, including your ability to come onto the critical thinking forum and state what you feel, whether it's in support of or detracting what the president is doing. Thank you, Homer. That was a great way to wrap things up. I appreciate that. Folks, we're here Monday, Tuesday, Friday at 5 o'clock New York time. So until 5.
For some weird reason, people are dumb enough to put someone like me in public office. You're all gonna see the most unprofessional person. I'm gonna be the same person I am on Clubhouse.
Old school, originally I kind of thought my dad was, you'll go to the military. I was geared my whole life to go to the military, but then I found out my dad didn't want me to go to the military. And
inside the mullah's regime are doing that intentionally to put Trump photo next to mullahs and make that normalized issue. For example, to say to put them inside the same side so we would hit him, and some of the opposition naive people follow that, and that makes it some kind of myth, if you see the opposition side who insults Trump, the opposition side, they are the naive people of opposition side. But if us, make problem between us. And that is intentional. They want propaganda. Mullah is like this. They make more complex conspiracy than opposition. A lot of opposition people can understand, but they are too dumb basically for the national stage of Iran. But a lot of opposition people are naive, and they try to suppress others. They don't let, for example, me to act. They are naive and they start to feel that I don't know what to say.
What do you think about the genocide in Gaza?
I think that that is also responsibility of people of Arab people to expose those credible news, to make news and expose those. And when it comes to Iran, I have much bigger and basic problems that I cannot solve that. That is a much more political. The issue of Gaza and humanity there is not comparable with the scale of Iran. Iran has 91 million population. A lot of international assets are at jeopardy. And Gaza is 2 million and as big as one of our small 6 provinces. It is a completely different scale. And the issue is not political.
Show us an innocent person who was killed.
Thousands of them. Thousands.
Show us one.
Thousands. Thousands.
Show us. Let's see one.
Latif, Abu Latif. He died in a building.
Tell us.
You don't know the names of these people. You know why? Because you're a terrorist supporter. You kill anyone. You'll kill any little child. You'll kill any child. You've been accused of abusing children before, so I understand that you are okay with that.
No, we're not okay. So tell us who got killed, Issa Ejalad.
It's a fact.
I'm sorry
Prove me wrong.
By the
Prove
way,
me wrong.
I'm sorry you're
Prove me wrong.
I'm sorry.
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. If it's not true, prove me wrong.
You haven't given us any.
I'm sorry that you're a terrorist. I'm sorry that you're a child molester. I'm sorry that you got accused of molesting that little boy in high school.
One of us. You're the one who goes to jail, not me. Right?
I go to jail for beating Jews. Now tell the truth.
No, you went to jail for
Beating a terrorist Jew.
No,
And I beat the case. So I beat the Israeli. No, he wasn't. He was an Israeli. He was an Israeli Mossad spy. He's a Jew. Yes. He was a Jew, an Israeli Jew.
An Arab.
He's an Israeli Jew.
You still don't know who you hit.
He's an Israeli Jew.
You assaulted a
That
Christian Arab.
Israeli. He thought he was going to come to New York City and Jew people, but he
His
couldn't.
name is
He like a
Yosef
dog.
Haddad.
We beat
Yes, you assault. You
Arab,
blindsided an Arab Christian. You're a bigot. You're an animal.
Okay, I know.
It's a fact.
I beat him like the Jew that he is.
But he was a Christian Arab.
He's a Jew.
You attacked a Christian Arab, right?
They're not killing. That's the thing. They're not killing anyone. They're murdering innocent women and children. They're not killing no men. They're not beating no Hezbollah.
So
Israeli Jews are terrorists.
National security issues. And that's what J.E. Vance said. You cannot be getting everyone out of
J.E. Vance said those Israeli Jews need to take their nose out of their asses and smell the
Oh,
coffee.
he didn't say that. No,
Yes, he did.
Inaccurate. No, he didn't.
Yes, he
Take
did.
a look at what he said. What's that, DJ?
J.E. Vance said basically you cannot be killing people just because out of the
It's a free country. He's entitled to say that. What's that, TJ?
And there's certain Catholic members that were not saying nice things about America because of
Catholic member? What Catholic member?
Cabinet, you big nose bastard. Cabinet. We know you don't know English. It's called cabinet. Then how come everyone else heard it, retard?
Because you're yelling.
Dummy.
That's one of the saying that look.
Yeah, sure. Hey, listen, J.D. Vance is a member of Trump's cabinet. He can have this.
He's not a member. He's the vice president. He's the second strongest person in our country.
Actually, he's not. He has
The vice
virtual
president.
power.
He's the
He
vice
only has.
president.
Yes, we know
So
who
it
he is.
happens to Trump, he gets put in as the president.
Right,
He's
so
not
nothing
just,
is happening
he's not a
to Trump.
cabinet member. He's the
Well,
vice
sure he is.
president.
Yes, so he was
Or by
picked by
proper
Trump.
title, Jew.
He was picked by Trump. He's part of Trump's cabinet. He has very little power when he does. Yeah, sure he is. The cabinet member the same way that the.
He is a vice president of.
Yes, we know that. Yes, it's part of the Trump cabinet. He's one of his advisors.
And he is the president of the Senate.
He is the top advisor.
Yeah,
the top
that's right.
advisor.
Yeah,
He's one of his advisors. He's the
No,
top
he's not really a top advisor.
Yes,
No,
he is. No, he's
He
not.
actually has no power. The vice president actually has no power.
Those don't
He can
have
go
any
in the
power
Senate.
either, but he's hairy.
He can vote. Well, what's that? He can go in the Senate only if there's a tie. It's a very slim power.
Is he not the president of the Senate?
He only, yeah, it's a ceremonial role. He has no real power. It's true.
And so is you growing your nose hair. It's a ceremonial role.
Yes, I know. I know. Your scale has no power either because you eat too much, but that's a different
Your
problem.
nose weighs as much as my leg.
Yes.
Boogergate.
No, I would say your ass weighs as much as an
You
elephant.
know all about ass because you keep your nose all up on people's ass.
Well, I tell if your mother's ass.
You keep your big ass nose up your little kid's ass.
Why don't you tell the room?
Asses, right?
Tell the room how you lost your family, Issa, and why you went to jail.
I lost my family because when we was in Haifa, a bunch of sticky Zionist Jews came.
Tell them how you lost your family. Tell them about the fire.
Zionist Jew terrorists.
And then tell them about your shelter.
For fucking Czechoslovakia. Those fake Jews that over there. They blew up a home.
Tell them about your shelter.
Now tell them how you were accused in Abraham High School in the west side of Manhattan of touching a 12-year-old boy. And you got terminated and you fled to Israel with charges was coming against you. Tell them.
Really? But there is no such a thing as Abraham.
Tell them.
But there's no such a thing as Abraham.
Tell them how you were working there and you got terminated for accusations of
I never worked there.
You're a liar.
I am pregnant with my third baby.
How do you do something that didn't?
I'm going to name her Kamala.
There's not even such a high school. I'm proving it right now. There is no such high school.
I already showed them the paperwork.
You're too stupid.
You're sticking your nose up little boys' butts.
You're too stupid to even know what
everyone knows that's what Israelis get caught for, always killing children.
Right. What do you mean when it's not about the
just like the head of Netanyahu's AI team.
So do you want
Let's talk about the Talmud. Let's talk about why the rabbis say you guys can stick a 3-year-old. Why are you allowed to stick your big hairy nose in a 3-year-old's butt?
with your big fat ass?
Tell us, you like sticking your big nose in fat asses, huh? You like sticking it inside Indian big fat asses, right?
So are we done with religion now? Thank you.
Well, we can be done with the person who's
I'll talk
about anything.
Well, we were talking about the Israeli terrorists and sticking their big noses up people's ass. He brought up religion.
Well, listen
I'm talking about the
that's
filthy
very
Israelis.
sexual. You sound like you're sexually
I'm talking about those filthy Israeli terrorists.
Yeah.
He brought up religion.
I thought we were talking about the Iran ceasefire. Memorandum of
All right, so
Understanding.
let's take it back, gentlemen, to the ceasefire.
One of us is a gentleman, that's true. Sure, let's talk about the
All right.
memorandum.
And one of us, Al Nashul, molested children.
And one of us is a criminal.
Yes, for
It's
beating
called
Jews.
Christian
For
Arab.
beating Jews.
Why did you
Beating a Jew.
So Yosef Haddad guy, correct?
Yosef Haddad is a Mossad Israeli spy from Israel,
So is he
and
a
I
Jew?
beat the dog shit out of him.
Wait a second, is he a Jew?
Is he from America or is he from Israel?
Wait a second. Is he a Jew?
Answer the question. Is he from America or from Israel? Which one?
He's an Arab.
Is he from America or Israel?
He's an Arab Christian that you would
Is he from America or Israel? Does he come to the United States to do work on behalf of Israel? Yes or no? Yes or no, big nose?
You're a fat.
Yes or no, big nose?
He's an Arab.
Is he an Israeli? Yes or no?
You don't even know
Is
the
he
difference.
an Israeli, you big nose bastard?
You
Yes or
don't
no?
even know the difference between a Jew and an Arab. This is how stupid you are. This
Yo,
is
big
why you
nose,
put in a
big
cage.
nose, big nose.
This
Is he
why they put you
is
in
he
a
an
cage.
Israeli or not?
This is why they put you in a cage. And you're going to put back in a cage. Well, except for
It's
right
gonna
now,
be
you're
big
providing-
nose. We're gonna
Right
put your
now,
family
you're
back in the
responding to the
concentration
FBI.
camps in Auschwitz.
By the way,
Now,
I
answer, big
appreciate-
nose.
I
Answer, big nose.
I appreciate that you're
Answer, big
responding.
nose.
I
Is he an
appreciate that
Israeli
you're
or not? Is he an Israeli or not?
He's an Arab Christian.
Is he an Israeli?
What?
Oh my God, we're done. I'm gonna bring someone else up, please.
We can talk. I'm not
You
sure why.
big nose bitch. Is he an Israeli or not?
Who was both Arabs on stage?
I saw dirty, filthy Israeli Jews.
Well, no, he's an Arab Christian.
No, he's not. He was a crypto Jew. He's a Mossad agent, and I beat the shit out of him. And I beat the shit out of him. I beat the shit out of that Israeli bastard.
He's an Arab Christian.
He's an Israeli.
Why did you attack him?
He's Israeli.
But he's an Arab Christian.
No, he's an Israeli.
He's not an Arab.
He's an Israeli terrorist.
Right,
Can I
Joseph
ask
Azad
this
is not an
question?
Arab.
No, he's an
Let
Israeli.
me ask this question. So if an Arab
And we beat the
Christian,
shit out of Israelis.
wait, if an Arab Christian lives
Are
in
you saying you're going to do it again, Isa?
Hello?
I'm gonna do it to you if you don't run across the police like you did last time, coward.
But you didn't show up when I said I was going to meet you. Why didn't you show up?
Oh my God, it's so long ago. Stop it already.
Well, his ego is hurt.
Guys, you know what? If it wasn't the fact that I know both of you are from New York, both of you would be put into the group. But my thing is, but I can't do that to his sister because he's my brother. But my thing is, I have a question for you.
Your brother's a lot better.
No, listen.
Listen.
All right. So if a person who's Arab and Christian lives in Israel, wouldn't he be considered Israeli?
Yeah.
That's up to him. Ask him.
I'm asking you.
I don't determine other people's.
Oh, Kitover, sir. So The Bachelor.
Good evening to The Bachelor on ABC. We are with a liberal, progressive, pluralistic, Democrat communist known as Bima the Goat. Her boyfriend is black and she has thought about leaving him. We're going to see tonight whether or not another man charm her heart and take her socks off. Because her boyfriend isn't there tonight to eat her snatch or to take her to dinner because it's a pseudo relationship. And we're hoping that Beaver might actually get laid and pull back the fat, pull back the flesh to find that little tiny bean in between all those tens of pounds of excess fat. Will it happen tonight on The Bachelor?
Peter's the contestant.
I know, but people say that you just co-mod a liberal, progressive, pluralistic, Democrat, communist because you want to get laid. And I'm not saying that that's not a thing to do, but until you actually confirm Beam is actually doable and
That's
not...
absolutely not true. I'm a free capitalist.
What?
Voluntarist.
A
I'm
voluntarist?
free capitalist.
You're laissez-faire?
I'm a free market capitalist voluntarist, sir. Which is the complete opposite of all the trash that you just listed.
Oh, you're not
Pay attention
pluralistic.
more. Maybe go back to school.
Oh,
Maybe read
projection,
more.
self-talk, self-help talk. Here we go back to school now. Let's read a book, maybe. Something like that.
I mean, honestly, I don't think that'll help you at this point, but it might give you something to do.
Projection alert detection system has been activated. Beep, boo, beep, beep, boop.
I would love to be your neighbor. I would love to be your neighbor. I would prank you all the time. I would do so many pranks. I would just prank you constantly. I think we would have a really great relationship. We would absolutely hate each other, and I would do everything in my power to make your life miserable in the funnest way.
Well, obviously, since you are a progressive, liberal, pluralist, Democrat, communist, you don't know the golden rule, which is treat others the way you'd like to be treated, which is treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. So if you want to prank me and waste my time being a childish little giggly fatty girl, well, that's your choice. You can do it right here in the streets of Clown House. You don't need to live near me. You can actually just do it here right now. Let's see your best shot. Go ahead. Hello?
Wait, what is my best shot? What am I doing?
Try to stay focused here now. You just gave me a big spiel about how you were gonna prank me if you were my neighbor. And I said, well, you don't have to be my real neighbor. You can just do it right here, right now on Clown House. You're a voluntarist, right? Whatever the fuck that means. Voluntarist, okay. Making shit up as usual. Trying to be inventive with the English language. Consensual, mutual contracts and all this other bullshit terminology. Girl, you haven't read a book in years. You haven't. How do I know? Because I listen. You haven't read one fucking page on this app. All you do is talk. You're like a fat person with an addiction problem.
Who do you hate more, Bima or Pepe?
It's not a question of hate. It's a question of just roast. It's not really a question of who annoys me. It's like I like Bima. I don't necessarily like Pepe. I like Bima. I want the best for Bima. But Bima, unfortunately, she's not doing any work whatsoever. I don't care about Pepe's outcome. That guy could go hitchhike and have his fantasy murder and go rape his innocent victims and then get hit by a bus, and I could care less. Bye! Wasted time. But Bima here, she's still got a shot. She could dump this loser boyfriend who treats her like shit and wastes her time, but she only dates because of structural white racism. She thinks that by being a sympathetic parasite for his bad character and ethics and no values, she thinks she's helping restore structural white racism in a society that is just always racist. Isn't that right, Bima?
You know, I think that you should really consider the weight, pun intended, of your words before you spew them out of your suck hole, your suck muscle hole. You know, bearing false witness isn't, you're not just lying. You're not just lying. You put other people, like me, a wonderful human being, you put my name, my character, my legacy, my dignity, you put it all in danger just by saying false shit. Right? It's just, you mislead people. You're a palterer. It's corruption. It's corrupt justice. And you cause people to hate on people like me based on something that's just not true. So what is your really ultimate, what's your goal? Like, if you're going to talk about me, at least Roger Mayhem, which, God bless him, he wasn't a palterer. He actually was accurate about the criticisms about me, and it's saying, like, she is a free market, pro-capitalist, voluntarist.
Okay, so, I've been reading a book, which I don't think you've done in a long time, and
I read a book with you, like an idiot.
Oh, well, that's true. All right, well, Ayn Rand says that true laissez-faire capitalism has never occurred in human history. And but she also declares that it is the future of the economy. And I have to agree, even though I don't believe in free beer tomorrow, I think that things ultimately will always go back to laissez-faire capitalism because it's a superior economic model which is ruthlessly efficient and provides for more people than the alternative. So I'm just saying that I can prove that you're actually a communist socialist and not a capitalist. And it's very simple. I only need to ask you one question.
Sure, go ahead.
How is inflation created?
Through a fiat system. A fiat system of money printing. Of people thinking that they can spend and spend and spend and spend and create a bunch of zeros and ones into the universe and not have the actual true market dynamics affected. I mean, we need to go back to the gold standard.
Yes. The gold standard. Sorry to interject you, Bima, just for a second.
Thank you.
Actually, I do like the gold standard, but let me just move off topic for a second. I did want to make a statement. Sean, all communication is hypnosis.
He teaches us well. He really truly does. He really does. But John, Coach John, let me ask you, what are the only ways that money is created in our system? I'm talking about money creation. I'm not talking about money printing. How is money created in our system? In our fiat system?
Well, I read an article during the 08 financial crisis, and then during the 2020 financial crisis when we shut down the economy for the scamdemic. And what I read was, in the Fortune was in FT Times, is that the Federal Reserve notifies BlackRock and the Aladdin asset management system to go in and on behalf of the Federal Reserve, which they wire in the money, they buy bonds. And a lot of these are like toxic assets. So there's no transparency, no oversight. Congress has no say in it. The Federal Reserve does what the fuck they want to do. They don't ask for input, and they put it into their what they call their economic model. It is so disingenuous, so fraudulent, and so criminal. It's unbelievable. If people really knew what is happening in America and in the world today, there would be a revolution, 100%. But your Apple iPhone does not explode upon impact. It just breaks your screen. So until we actually have like a fully armed population willing to engage in oppositional defiance and actual, political terror, nothing will ever change. The debt will just continue to expand. Select groups of people will benefit more than others. Everyone is marginalized. And it's so fucked up because you're raised saying, oh, you could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor. The whole system is bankrupt. 200 trillion in debt at the federal level, another 100 trillion at the state level, another 100 trillion at the municipal level. We are living in the late stages of communism, not capitalism. And all the politicians do is create videos all day long. They spam us with a mountain of lies, whether it's LGBTQ Pride Day, month, or Juneteenth, or Barack Obama's library opening and all the dance videos. These criminals are communist parasite thieves that caused all the debt. They have enslaved our population because truly, your home is your castle and your last refuge. You shouldn't have to pay $6,000, $20,000 a year in property taxes to live in a home that you worked your ass off to buy. This is theft through taxation without representation. And honestly, I think we're at the point where within a few years, because core services will disappear and the monthly interest payments are going to skyrocket, we actually will enter into a potential revolutionary period in the United States of America. And the irony is, it won't be done by a Republican. It will be done by a liberal, progressive, pluralistic, communist Democrat under the guise of equity and inclusion and structural white racism. That's why I disagree with you so vehemently, because you don't really. Structural white racism is a scam and a fraud, just like affordability. These are the criminal parasites. Primarily are Democrats. Republicans are liberators. Who freed the slaves? The Republicans. Who put the Jim Crow laws into place? The white Democrats. So Bima, pick a side and at least go with it. I chose the Republicans over the Democrats because of the values and the morals and the history. And then you say, oh, well, what about now? The parties have flip-flopped. No, they have not. History has not changed. Even though the pseudo-intellectual historian that never graduated college, Marshall Rankin, my little brother, says otherwise. I am complete.
Notice that we didn't get a clear answer. Would anybody be able to tell me what specifically John's answer was to the question, how is money created in the U.S. monetary system?
I told you, did you not hear about how BlackRock and the Federal Reserve buy junk debt and they inject liquidity into the system that way?
That's just transfers. Those are transfers. That's not money creation.
It is. It is. That's the actual way that it happens. Hello? It's literally created out of thin air by the Federal Reserve wire transferring into banks, and the banks use that money to create liquidity by buying junk assets. I know you're not a financial expert. You probably don't even know how to buy and sell stocks. Hello? I was the head of my college finance club. Who were you? I've worked for Morgan Stanley Smith Barney Citigroup, the largest bank in the world. Who are you? Oh yeah, you are Bima. We like Bima, but we do not believe in Bima. This brain rot is real. Who went on a drug run and helped deliver drugs with somebody that could have killed her or raped her and did it for structural white racism?
That's not true.
No?
And what was your thing about structural white racism? Like, it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Say it right. It's not the truth. It's the truth.
Let me ask you, is school funding tied to property taxes?
Yeah.
Is property value shaped by decades of racial housing discrimination?
No, the assessor's office looks at the value of the home and assigns a levy and an assessment based on the property's value. And why are blacks so freaked out about the tax bills this year? Because the Democrats keep spending. And they can't just assign all the taxation to white people because that's unconstitutional and unlawful. In fact, reparations have already been determined to be racist and anti-constitutional. You cannot base federal spending on race. You have to base it on the individual, not someone's race. It's in the Constitution. They proved it.
When was that put in the Constitution?
The ruling came out 2 days ago by the Illinois Northern District Department of Justice that the reparations program in Evanston, Illinois, which taxes you for buying cannabis and gives that money to 300 black people, as being racist. Because it is racist and it's unconstitutional and illegal. Reparations is a scam. Affordability is a scam. Your local Democrat is a scam, is a liar, is a fraud. Doesn't tell you the truth about the debt, the $200 trillion national disaster about to explode when interest payments reach $2 trillion a year, then $3 trillion a year, then $4 trillion a year. It's Zimbabwe, baby. That's communism. Hello? It's theft by deception.
So, do you think that white families, were, I mean, at this point, I'm not sure what to say, but allowed to accumulate property and wealth, while black families were legally blocked from doing that?
First of all, it's not a question.
True,
Hello?
if we're gonna say that that's true because we have evidence to suggest so.
Okay.
Right. New deal. Okay. Why do you think that's just gonna disappear? Like, why? Where do you think that those effects ended?
First off, there are no black families or white families, or brown or purple or blue or yellow or pink or green. There are American families. And when you realize that the law is applied equally before all Americans, not based on race, your lie dissipates and the truth is right in front of your face. So get the terminology right. It's not our people, it's not black families or white families, it's American families before the law. And when you circumvent the law and you say you get special privileges and rights in 2026 because you are an ADOS, well, guess what? That's illegal and racist and discriminatory. Hello?
So we're not having a conversation, you're just talking about stuff, right? You don't want to answer my question. Well, we could talk about something else.
Matt's gonna come in and make the room about the new Carmelo Anthony video. He's told me he's just reviewing it now. So.
Really?
Yeah.
John, what's your take on Carmelo Anthony?
No reaction?
What did you ask? You were asking about Carmelo, the
What are you eating?
I'm eating a Turkish fig. It literally, that's laissez-faire capitalism. They take a fig off a tree in Turkey, put it in a plastic, receptacle, and ship it to Chicago. And now I'm eating a Turkish fig. It's like a fig Newton without the breading. It's incredible. Have you ever had a Turkish fig?
I am not.
Well, you love eating. Maybe you should diversify what you're eating.
I was just chomping on the gristle of these chicken wings. Yeah. Oh, guess what?
Chicken
I
butt.
wanted to check, but I can't because you're mean. And you tell everybody everything.
Oh, did you want to admit to some other harebrained adventure you went on with somebody that kidnapped you and could potentially have raped and murdered you? But since you were
I was a kid.
so complicit?
I think my intuition saved my life and saved me from getting robbed and killed.
Do you think that guy,
I think he would have killed me. I definitely think he would have robbed me.
Do you think if he saw you on the street today, he'd be like, hey, remember me? I was that guy that fucking kidnapped you and through the threat of violence, remember me? Oh, man, baby, we had a good time. Let's do it again.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I couldn't remember his face. I couldn't remember his face if I tried.
Oh, because you didn't even look. You were too scared, probably.
Well, that's probably a lot of truth to that.
Yep.
He had
What
a
do you?
hoodie out.
Let me ask you this, Bima. What do you think
Hood
about?
was on.
What do
It
you?
was like sunk into it.
What do you think about Barack Hussein Obama's new tower in Chicago and the huge celebration with all the celebrities gloating, dancing, so happy?
You know what? I'll tell you
The
what.
never-ending
I loved
Donald Trump insults that they keep
First
throwing
Lady's
out.
speech